Madam President.
Senator from Missouri.
Madam President, once again, I must rise in opposition to another amendment which has been argued very strongly on the other side, but which would impose additional operating burdens and limit the ability of our collecting agencies in the intelligence community to get the information they need and to be able to use it to keep our country safe. We've gone through all of these, and we've worked to develop much greater protections for American citizens. But one of the protections the American citizens seek from us is a protection from foreign attack and from terrorist attack. And if we hamstring our intelligence community, as they were hamstrung under the new techniques under the old FISA law, you'll find out that we cannot collect information we need. This burden, this super exclusionary rule, goes far beyond what's necessary to protect American citizens. Now, while supporters of the amendment may argue that a similar rule appears elsewhere in FISA, it's important to remember that that rule is limited to individual domestic surveillance and searches where the court has found there is no probable cause to target that person. That's a very different and a very important protection for Americans from searches and seizures and surveillance without a court order or not a properly developed court order. This amendment tries to apply that same rule to foreign targeting, where there may be a deficiency identified in the targeting or minimization procedures. Applying an exclusionary rule in the context of domestic surveillance involving a small number of targets is manageable, and it must be done to protect American citizens and U.S. persons. But it makes sense if there is no finding of probable cause. That's the threshold under which that rule applies. But it makes no sense to exclude the use of information simply because there is a deficiency, any deficiency, in the certification or procedures used to target foreign terrorists overseas. That's who we're talking about. That's the great bulk of the collections, overwhelming amount of the collections are against foreign targets, foreign terrorists, others with weapons of mass destruction plans for proliferation, or with foreign powers. And it makes no sense to say that a deficiency which can be corrected should require all of the information collected to be suppressed. For example, this automatic suppression rule would make the government temporarily sequester significant amounts of data, potentially, that might contain vital foreign intelligence information. Obviously, there's a qualification, but not amount to information that contains a threat of death or bodily injury during a period of time when the government is attempting to correct a relatively minor or inadvertent deficiency. That's unreasonable, it's unnecessary, it's one more administrative burden on the intelligence community, especially if it's able to correct the identified deficiency. Moreover, the Intelligence Committee's bill already provides an adequate remedy if the FISA court ultimately determines that the collection is improper. It may order the government to cease collection. The court then has the inherent authority to fashion an appropriate remedy to address the collection and the contents that have been collected in a manner inconsistent with the law and the authorities of the collecting agency. The amendment does not fix a problem with the statute. Instead, it potentially creates a problem that could have unintended operational consequences for our intelligence community. They don't need any more burdens, Madam President. They have all the challenges they need trying to intercept, translate, incorporate, and divine the intents of terrorists. There's more than enough work to do for our intelligence analysts just to stay within the existing boundaries that we have applied and the protection for American citizens without them having to fear that we will lose vital foreign intelligence collection information because there was some minor deficiency which may later be identified by the court. That would make our country less safe, and it is not warranted. Therefore, I encourage my colleagues to join me in voting against this amendment, and I'm pleased to yield the floor to my colleague, the chairman of the committee.
Madam President.